In the heat of the air battles over Germany in 1944, Allied pilots reported being stalked by glowing metallic orbs that could outmaneuver the fastest fighter jets in the world. They called them Foo Fighters, and they were the first recorded UFOs in military history. For decades, these sightings were dismissed as pilot fatigue or war nerves, but declassified military logs reveal a terrifying truth. These objects weren't just lights, they were intelligent, structured, and completely unknown. Today, we investigate the secret dogfights between World War II pilots and an unidentified force from the stars. November 1944, a night fighter pilot named Edward Schluter was flying over the Rhine when he saw 8 red glowing lights following his wing at 200 miles per hour. He tried to engage them, diving and turning his Bristol Beaufighter, but the lights stayed perfectly glued to his tail. They weren't attacking, they were observing. When he radioed his base, the radar operators confirmed there was absolutely nothing else in the sky. To the ground crew, Schluter was alone, but in the cockpit, he was being hunted. The name Foo Fighter came from a popular comic strip of the time, Smokey Stover, where a character often said, "Where there's foo, there's fire." It became the official slang for the impossible. These sightings weren't just limited to American pilots. British, French, and even German pilots reported seeing the exact same glowing spheres over the battlefields of Europe. At first, each side thought it was a secret weapon belonging to the enemy. The Allies thought it was a Nazi wonder weapon, while the Nazis believed it was a secret Allied surveillance drone. But after the war, when intelligence agencies interviewed German scientists, they realized the Nazis were just as terrified of the Foo Fighters as the Americans were. Forensic analysis of pilot reports described the objects as having various colors: red, orange, white, and sometimes a pulsating green. They often moved with a bouncing motion, as if floating on water. One of the most famous reports came from the 415th Night Fighter Squadron. They reported balls of fire that would suddenly vanish when the pilots tried to open fire. This suggests the objects had a way of detecting when they were being targeted, indicating a level of sensor technology far beyond anything available in 1944. Could they have been St. Elmo's fire? A natural weather phenomenon? Scientists argue that St. Elmo's fire doesn't follow moving aircraft for miles at high speeds. Another theory suggests ball lightning, but ball lightning usually lasts for only a few seconds before exploding. Foo Fighters were reported to follow planes for up to 15 minutes at a time. Let's look at the German disk theory. Rumors persist that Hitler's scientists were developing vertical takeoff crafts like the Die Glocke or the Bell. If the Nazis had this technology, why didn't they use it to win the war? Declassified documents show that even their most advanced jet, the Me-262, was primitive compared to the flight patterns of the Foo Fighters. Forensic historians have scoured the archives of the SS and found no blueprints that matched the descriptions of the glowing orbs. The Foo Fighters were something else entirely. After the war ended in 1945, the sightings didn't stop. They moved from the battlefields of Europe to the skies over the United States, eventually leading to the 1947 Roswell incident. The Foo Fighters were effectively the alpha of the modern UFO era. They proved that unidentified objects were interested in our most violent conflicts. In 1953, the CIA's Robertson panel reviewed the Foo Fighter files. They officially concluded that the objects were likely electrostatic phenomena, but the pilots who saw them never believed it. Why would an electrostatic charge change color and make intelligent maneuvers to avoid being shot down? The military explanation felt like a desperate attempt to maintain order. Some modern researchers believe the Foo Fighters were automated probes from another world. They were sent to monitor humanity's first use of advanced aerospace and radar technology. Think about it. 1944 was the year we were perfecting jet engines and moving toward atomic power. We were finally loud enough for the rest of the universe to hear. There are also reports from the Pacific Theater. Sailors on Navy ships reported glowing discs emerging from the ocean and flying alongside their convoys at night. This links the Foo Fighters to modern transmedium UAPs that move effortlessly between air and water. The technology hasn't changed in 80 years. Only our ability to record it has. Forensic photography from the era is rare, but a few grainy images exist. They show blurred, luminous shapes that don't match any known Allied or Axis-wing profile. One pilot, David McFalls, described them as not like anything I've ever seen, and I've seen everything they can throw at us. He was an ace who knew every silhouette of every enemy plane. The psychological impact on the pilots was massive. Many were afraid to report the sightings because they didn't want to be grounded or labeled as insane by the flight surgeons. This created a silent culture in the military that persists to this day. We only know about these stories because of brave men who were willing to risk their reputations after the war. Let's look at the radar data again. Why couldn't the ground stations see what the pilots saw? It implies that the objects were stealth long before we even understood the concept. Or perhaps they were using a form of plasma camouflage that tricked the eye but was invisible to the primitive radar frequencies of the 1940s. The Foo Fighters were never reported to have fired a weapon. Their mission appeared to be purely observational. A cosmic safari watching a world at war. What happened to them after 1945? As we moved into the Cold War, the Foo Fighters evolved into the silver discs, and eventually, the Tic Tacs reported by pilots today. Forensic scientists suggest that if these are drones, they are likely powered by zero-point energy or advanced magnetic propulsion. This would explain why they emit light but no engine noise. The 415th Squadron's historian, Major Frederick Ringwald, was the first to take the Foo stories to the press. He knew that the public needed to know about the third player in the war. But the story was quickly buried under the celebrations of VE Day. The world wanted to celebrate peace, not worry about mysterious orbs in the sky. Today, the term Foo Fighter is a footnote in history books, mostly overshadowed by the rock band. But for the pilots of 1944, it was a terrifying encounter with the unknown. As we look at the modern UAP reports from the Pentagon, the descriptions are hauntingly similar to the reports from 80 years ago. The Foo Fighters never really left. They are the original witnesses to our history, silent observers of our greatest triumphs and our darkest hours. The files of 1944 are still waiting for a final conclusion. The evidence is scattered in yellowed flight logs and recorded interviews with veterans who are no longer with us. It is a puzzle that links World War II to the present day. Every time a modern pilot reports a strange light, they are following in the footsteps of the men who saw the Foo Fighters. The phenomenon is consistent and persistent. Was it a natural glitch in our atmosphere, or have we been watched by an external intelligence for the better part of a century? The truth is hiding in the archives. If this deep dive into the original UFO mystery kept your eyes on the screen, hit that like button. Subscribe now and hit the bell so you never miss another declassified investigation. So tell us, do you think the Foo Fighters were secret Nazi tech or something from another world? Let's debate in the comments. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next investigation, only here on Forgotten Clues.